All right, all right, all right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Crypto Talk. Bitcoin Brandon here from Los Angeles. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule for being here, learning something new tonight. We will not be long tonight. Go ahead and type in the chat box where you're listening in from. See, Lorna Vasquez, Bethany Gibbs, Connie, Cleve Stewart. Yeah, we got to do it differently because Facebook won't let me log in, so I'm back on YouTube. That's how it has to be. As a disclaimer, I'm not a licensed financial advisor to be giving financial advice. I read the news, give my opinion, share suggestion, and it is up to you to make an informed, intelligent decision on which direction you want to move into. Good evening, Lance. Dayton, Ohio. Who me? Nafula, which is Vanita from North Carolina. Facebook would not let me log in, so I got to do it through YouTube tonight. There's 4 rules I live by in the crypto space to have success. Rule number 1, education is key. Education is everything. Rule number 2, never invest money you cannot afford to lose. Rule number 3, always get a return on your investment back as fast as possible. And rule number 4, where do you see yourself in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now? What are you willing to do to make that happen? Make a decision, find a vehicle, and take action. Do not get distracted, stay focused. Now, following these rules is not going to guarantee you success, but it will at least minimize your risk. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the most that you can ask for. Go ahead, hit the thumbs up button on the YouTube channel. If this is your first time listening through YouTube, hit the subscribe and then hit the bell and you'll be notified. Who me? I've still been doing my shows. I just haven't been doing them on YouTube. YouTube was acting crazy with me for a couple of days, so I switched it to Facebook. So those of you who want to keep up, I still do them. If you've only been listening through YouTube, make sure you follow me on Facebook as well, because I've been doing most of them there. All right, you guys heard the news this morning. Craig Wright has gotten copyright on the Satoshi Nakamoto. Doesn't mean he is Satoshi Nakamoto, but he did that in the United States. I'm curious to see how the response is going to be from the community. But before we go there, let's look at the charts. Right now, crypto market cap is at 250 billion, is up 1.1% last 24 hours. Bitcoin dominance has dropped to 56.5%. Money came in from the other coins. Ethereum is at 10.9%, Ripple 6.7%. What is this? Bitcoin has had a reversal the last 7 days? That doesn't seem right. Hold on a second. Or it's been flat the last 7 days. Yeah. It's been basically flat. Look at that, 0% change in the last 7 days. Complete. In fact, the rest of the market looks almost the same way except Ethereum. Ethereum is up 17% last 7 days. Bitcoin Cash. What about Bitcoin SV? See, now this is what I want to pay attention to. With Craig Wright acting as if he is Satoshi Nakamoto, which means whatever coin he backs is the real Bitcoin. All of a sudden, Bitcoin flattens out and Bitcoin SV jumps by 67%. I don't know about that. I mean, you got to think about that. I would, if you do not own at least one whole Bitcoin SV, now's the time to get it and stash it away. It's been a crazy space. We never know what's going to happen if all of a sudden Bitcoin flips. So the price of one Bitcoin SV is $101 right now. Despite them being delisted from multiple exchanges, continues to live. And with this latest news from about Craig Wright, who knows? So whether you like it or not, you can still profit from it. So I would at least own one whole Bitcoin SV and forget you got it. You never know what that's going to turn into. So information on the Dow. Dow leaps 200 points. Catastrophic housing data menaces market. Last time we saw that, 2008. Housing market. Is that going to play a role again? The Dow and broader U.S. stock market returned to strength on Tuesday after the temporarily rolled back trade restrictions against Huawei, the Chinese giant. But beneath the surface, the U.S. economy is showing signs of persistent weakness that could come back to haunt the bull market. Dow regains footing, S&P 500, NASDAQ follow. Following back-to-back declines, the U.S. stock market was back on the offensive Tuesday, mirroring a strong pre-market for Dow futures. All three major indices reported gains, with the Dow climbing 203 points or 0.8% to 25,883. The broad S&P 500 index of large cap stocks gained 1%, and 10 of 11 primary sectors reported gains, with materials and information technology leading the way. A strong performance in the technology sector catapulted the NASDAQ Composite Index to significant gains. The technology-focused benchmark climbed 1.3%. America's flailing housing market showed further signs of weakness last month as existing home sales fell unexpectedly. Home resales, which account for the lion's share of the domestic real estate market, declined 0.4% in April to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 5.19 million, the National Association of Realtors reported Tuesday. Analysts in a medium estimate called for home sales to climb 2.7%. The housing market has been a perennial underperformer during the Trump era, as rising home costs have outpaced a surging labor market and higher wages. What's most troubling about the April slowdown was that home buyers don't seem to be benefiting from declining mortgage rates. As the following chart illustrates, fixed rate mortgages across all time periods have declined substantially since November, which was just before the Federal Reserve initiated its fourth interest rate hike of 2018. The Federal Reserve benchmark interest rate impacts mortgage costs indirectly as banks and other lenders pass on the higher cost of borrowing to consumers. The U.S. Central Bank has all but abandoned its plan for additional rate hikes following the December flash crash in U.S. equities. A two-speed economic recovery, as evidenced by the recent drop in industrial production and consumer spending, is also keeping policymakers on the sidelines for now. This should be something to watch. I want to pay close attention to this. So Craig Wright. Craig Wright's Bitcoin copyright. Is it a blockchain bombshell or absolute farce? This is a wish would just go away. As CCN reported, Craig Wright has officially filed a copyright claim for the Bitcoin white paper. But what does this mean for Bitcoin and crypto generally? In short, it means very little. For starters, the Bitcoin project was initially released under the MIT license, one of the most permissive licenses. It only requires that those who modify and redistribute the code do so under a different title. Open source trumps copyright. It gives anyone with the chops to do so the freedom to modify and redistribute the code as they see fit. Having a copyright on the system is common in open source. It doesn't entitle the copyright owner to any exclusive rights. The open source license anyone who has worked with the code. You guys hearing this? Filing the copyright presents a disturbing precedent. However, and copyrights don't have to be submitted for them to be legitimate. Common misconception among online writers that without registered copyrights, people can lift their work in a legal sense. Jerry Brito says, registering a copyright is just filing a form. The Copyright Office does not investigate the validity of the claim. They just register it. Unfortunately, there is no official way to challenge a registration. If there are competing claims, the office will just register all of them. You hear that? These words are copyrighted. The copyright belongs to this reporter's employer, CCN, a subsidiary of Hawkfish AS. Legitimate copyright as soon as this reporter submitted them. So does Craig Wright's sudden copyright move hint at disaster for Bitcoin? Wright has filed the copyright, but it doesn't require validation or investigation from the Copyright Office. If multiple competing claims are filed, they will all be honored and registered. The holders are then free to engage in lawsuits about who owns what. But no one else has ever thought to file a copyright on the Bitcoin white paper or its code. Yeah, that's just crazy. Why didn't Wright file the copyright before? No answer on that, of course. Yeah, that's basically what he's doing to everybody right now. The move is likely a weak attempt at bolstering Wright's so far unproven claim to be Satoshi Nakamoto. What we need to ask ourselves is what happens in the event that Wright actually proves his identity, signs messages with those old Satoshi addresses, and goes on to receive patents for most of the key design principles in blockchain technology. Yeah, what does that mean? What's going to happen? Wright claims that other blockchains besides his chosen implementation of Bitcoin SV, will have to pay for the privilege of using the code base. Stop right there. Just that line. Does that make Satoshi Nakamoto wanted to do? He was in it for the money. This dude is so much of a fraud. This notion would be battled fiercely, likely crowdfunded by numerous millionaires and billionaires who have a stake in the free functioning of Bitcoin. In other words, he's trying to go against, say, Bitcoin is not run by a government, not run by a corporation, not run by a CEO, not run by any individual. Now he's going to turn around and say, well, I own everything, so if you want to use my code, you got to pay me for it. Does that sound like Satoshi Nakamoto or the Bitcoin white paper? This is why I shared in Austin this past weekend. It's important that you read the Bitcoin white paper. It's like the Constitution. So are we entering a new paradigm where traditional courts govern our nascent technologies? The whole idea of copyright or a patent runs counter to the cyberpunk ethos of code is law. In essence, if you want something to be patented or copyrighted, you should code it such that it's impossible to copy or steal. Bitcoin SV price explodes past $100 for absolutely no reason. Bitcoin SV skyrocketed by 100% on the news of Wright's copyright filing. But again, the move has no legs. In terms of making him legitimately Satoshi Nakamoto, Bitcoin has dropped back toward $8,000. See, I'm sick of him doing this. He did this last November with the Bitcoin Cash fork, and Bitcoin dropped from 6,000 to 3,000. And he did this in 2017. In the end, if Wright does not actually prove his identity as Satoshi Nakamoto, The copyright filing could create a new set of problems. Surely the U.S. government will not look kindly on a man who hoodwinked them. Is this all part of Craig Wright's master plan? Currently, things seem uncertain regarding Bitcoin. Are massive patent and copyright lawsuits bars for Bitcoin developers and companies? We don't know from here. What's certain is that if Craig Wright is truly a fraud, as some have alleged, he's going for the gold medal, doubling down on already wild claims with as much officiousness as he can achieve. This man, I mean, he's taking it to another level here. I don't know how this is going to impact the market. I don't think this has nothing good for the market. It's my opinion. There is nothing good that's going to come from this. It's going to be a black eye on the crypto space. And if there's any way that Bitcoin itself could fail, is this guy. He's the biggest threat to Bitcoin. That doesn't mean crypto will fail. Cryptocurrency, I mean, you can't put that genie back. But Bitcoin. Anyways, that is all for tonight for Late Night Crypto Talk. I'll be back tomorrow morning with Early Morning Crypto Talk. I'm curious to see how the markets will react to this, it's particularly Asia, who should be awake right now or any minute. So the Asian market should be awake to react to this Americans being, or not American, he's British or Australian. I think it's Australian. Is being recognized as Satoshi Nakamoto through the copyright. And we'll see what the markets do, how they respond to that. The sell wall looks pretty high compared to the buy wall. That's not good for Bitcoin. Because if this thing drops past 78.26 or 78.61, it can slide all the way to 6,800. Right back where we started a couple weeks ago. And then from there, it can slide all the way to 5,000. So this wall's getting a little pretty high. People are got their sell orders booking it up. I don't know. I can't give advice. Do your research. It should be telling you something. What is a bot sell order at right now? 82. Really? Oh, I'm sorry. That's the buy order, not the sell order. 7082 buy order. What's the sell order at? I don't see a sell order. The bot's not trying to sell anything. It's going to buy up the dip. That is very interesting. Anytime I see something like this, something major is about to happen. Last time I saw this, that's when Bitcoin shot up by like $2,000. But it can also go in the opposite direction. Something, I'm saying it now, you got me on record, something is about to go down within the next 24 hours. So yeah, I'm going to watch this closely, especially right before I go to bed. Europe should be up, and then see what it looks like in the morning. All right, I hope you guys learned something new. As always, that's the point. Have a good evening. Bitcoin Brandon out. Bye-bye.